health needs of the population, and again, cultural competencies. Every individual patient being respected to optimize their care is so critical. Improve access. Major part of what we do as pharmacists. Everybody maybe wants to open pharmacy in Amman rather than thinking, well, where is the need? Or in Abu Dhabi, for example, when I was there, they had an ambulatory care conference. They have 53 clinics embedded all over the country, and they want to embed pharmacists that are able to do a lot of these functions and services in all these clinics. God bless them, that's great. And they recognize that the role of the pharmacist is important in every one of these clinics. Fantastic, that's great. Provide education, improve medical literacy for the patient, and again, documentation of value. And more doctors are believing in the role of the pharmacist in ambulatory care, and there is many examples of collaborative agreements across the United States now in terms of pharmacists being embedded in these clinics and so on. Again, indicators of quality of the services is out there in many research that has been done. One example would be a study that was done with asthma patients for 6 months. They did not have a pharmacist following them, and they looked how many times they go to the emergency room. It was 106 times. Then they had a pharmacist educate and counsel and so on. For the 6 months during the counseling, it went down to half. And then they followed with education for 6 months after that, 6 visits to the emergency room. Think about this. And that's just by the intervention of the pharmacist. Many examples of that. So pharmacists can certainly make a big difference. How are we doing on time?
Yeah, 3 minutes.
Are you serious? 3 minutes? Oh, time flies. Wow. All right, real quick. I'm going to talk about academics. University of Arizona have done a wonderful job with this since 2006. They have a medication therapy management kind of clinic run by 26 pharmacists. They started with a smaller number than that, but they're intervening on behalf of patients that are receiving Medicaid and other health insurances, and they've documented interventions for almost $600 million in terms of optimizing patient care and cost effectiveness and so on for their population. At Creighton University, we have a Center for Medication Therapy Management that's run by the Department of Pharmacy Practice. And again, the whole key issue is collaborate with community pharmacists and other insurance companies to do medication therapy management based on an MTM model. And we did that also for our employees. So we do it with community pharmacy with our employees. There is a cardiovascular and diabetes risk reduction program. This is the results of a 5-year. Looking at every parameter of we get every year when we do our health insurance, we have this health screening, and every aspect of, you think about parameter, HDL, LDL, hemoglobin A1C for diabetic patients. If you look at the baseline and then the 5-year and look at the numbers, eating fruits, exercising, they look at all the parameters and in every aspect, and that's run by pharmacists, by the way, by pharmacists, Dr. Tom Lenz in our school, and in every aspect, that indicator has improved. And any company could do this, and I think it's to optimize, again, wellness and so on, but again, the key thing is, it is run by pharmacists. I'm not going to talk about specialty pharmacists. For those of you that own community pharmacy, in Shenandoah, Iowa, a small town, Pat Travis, a pharmacist, and one day decided to close pharmacy. I'm going to open a 6,000 square foot facility, and he called it Pharmaceutical Care Starts Here. And every patient that goes into the pharmacy, they measure their blood pressure. If it's high, they bring him back. Second time, third time. If it is high, they average it. They send a letter to the primary care physician. We say, we saw Mr. So-and-so, and the blood pressure, so please check him out, okay? The asthma patient with the inhaler, they went even further than the study that was described yesterday. They videotape their patients while they showed them how to use the inhaler, and they gave the DVD to the patient to look at it every time, remind themselves in terms of how to use the inhaler. So there are many creative ways. If you have time, check the APH, the American Pharmaceutical Association projects. They started with Asheville, with a small town, with the employees, diabetes, and they followed them, and they looked at, again, LDL, HDL, hemoglobin, A1C, and so on. and they decreased all these parameters. They took it to 25 communities. They showed the same results. But the best part about it is the last one, the patient self-management credentials. They started training the patients how to take care of their disease. So they now said, we want to empower the patient to take care of their disease. But all of these were led by pharmacists. And all these are published online, so you could access these. In Omaha, Nebraska, we have a gentleman who's a pharmacist from Ireland, and decided to open this Think Whole Person Health. Built this beautiful building, brought in 26 physicians, 16 pharmacists, have collaborative agreement with the physician, OTs, PTs, every specialty, put them all together, 24-hour service, and the whole thing is to have a collaborative way of looking at the patient as a whole, including pharmacists, to look at every aspect of their drug therapy in collaboration with the patient and the doctor, with patient education and all that stuff. They're all in the same place. The patient doesn't have to go and see his PT or her PT or OT or whatever. Everybody is in the same. What a beautiful thing. That's where we should be heading, where we all work together collaboratively to help the patient and so on. So again, if we have time, I would have asked you to think about it. What does this mean for Al Zaytun? And again, keeping the global perspective. You just heard a lot of jumble-mumble about the United States, what they're doing and so on. But what does it mean for you? What is needed? What is needed at the university here? Courses or whatever. You know, what is needed? What is the culture that exists now? What is the role of Ministry of Health? What is the partnership that exists between academia and practice? How you can strengthen that? What are the kind of training that we need to do for pharmacists to really be able to provide these kind of services? And again, what are the legal issues to really identify the scope of practice for pharmacists? What is the accountability? If we are willing to do this, we're going to be accountable for this. And if we make mistakes, we should be accountable. So we need to emphasize the importance of the responsibility of the pharmacists in providing these services. Document outcome locally and nationally for Jordan. Don't just do this. See how we can document it and provide incentives. Pharmacists should get paid for doing these kind of things. They should be rewarded for it. So I apologize, I went over time, but thank you for your patience. Thank you all for your patience. If there's time, I'll take questions. If not, I understand.
No, there's time for questions, no problem. Okay, thank you for this nice presentation, Professor Nasser. Time for questions now.
Thank you for the lecture. You have mentioned the barriers concerning pharmacists. I want just to mention also the barriers we are facing in the hospitals. Just an example. The clinical pharmacists that are employed in the hospitals are facing major barriers. Some physicians, they respect the pharmacists, the clinical pharmacists, but also there is an additional barrier, the pharmacists themselves. So, in spite of the fact of providing the organizational structure that should be in each hospital and the job description, and also our recommendation that pharmacists should be increased, and the number of pharmacists should be increased, and clinical pharmacists should be increased. So what is your suggestion? Because they are putting them off. There are recent examples. Clinical pharmacists are moving out of the hospitals. So what is your suggestion? The solution, in spite of all what we have presented to the ministry.
Sure. Well, you know, like with any profession, I mean, the people in that profession can be their best own enemy kind of thing in terms of how we conduct ourselves, how we behave, and so on. Again, this shift in terms of optimizing patient care and shift from dispensing and so on, we need to really embrace that. If we don't embrace it in terms of what we need in terms of knowledge, skills, and more importantly, attitude, we're not going to be there. The public is going to see through us that we're not really doing what we claim that we can do. All right, so yes, the burden is on us to showcase. I remember one of the first preceptors that I had was a lady who was a cardiovascular preceptor, and she was an advocate of clinical pharmacy in the hospital. And she challenged the chief of staff, and sadly she ended up losing her job. That was in 1987. But we've made great strides. Now every every single word in the hospital at the University of Nebraska Medical Center, at Creighton University where I teach and so on. They have clinical pharmacists. It took a lot of effort, a lot of hard work for us to show what we can do, what value. But on the other hand is, what is the role of professional organization? In the country, certainly in the United States, they played a major role. They lobby, they make sure that if there's any bills submitted, that the pharmacists are being acknowledged as part of the healthcare providers. So what is being done here? Are the professional organizations concentrating on the profession, or are they concentrating on fractionating the profession based on their political kind of ideologies and so on? Sadly, you know, that happens in this part of the world more than concentrating on the profession itself and what is happening and what is our role and how can we affect the Ministry of Education, Health, Ministry of Labor to create a scope of pharmacy practice that is bigger and so on. So it's a collective effort, I agree with you, and clinical pharmacists in the United States did not have it easy all the time. And we still don't have it easy. And I've practiced in 5 hospitals, you know, for 20 years now. And I'll tell you, depending on which hospital you work, the physicians can be, wow, nasty. All right, nurses are our best ally everywhere, globally, talking again, globally. And if you can get the nurses on your side, trust me, that's a major thing. So sometimes we concentrate on the physician, but our best ally right in front of us, nurses. I hope I answered your question.
Thanks for your fantastic overview. Well, I'm a member of the Italian board that is taking care for this aspect as regarding the role of pharmacists. So one data has to be highlighted is only at least in the developed countries, only 50% of the patients that suffer with a chronic disease are adherent to the therapy. So therapy adherence. This is a main issue if you are considering it in the economical impact for the country. So in this way you can play a political role and to give to pharmacists new opportunity. In this way, Italy is placed in between one of the 2-3 countries that we have the longest life expectancy, but also means long, so people that suffer of such chronic diseases that need continuous multi-therapy, multi-drug assistance. And here, so we evidence the role of the pharmacist, and the national medical care system offer money for projects to develop this aspect. And the economical impact is amazing. Saving and in the prevention, of course. This is, of course, one of the main issues that has to be highlighted to offer opportunity for pharmacists. Of course, you have to provide also a cultural competencies. Thanks for your presentation. We have every year a group from pharmacists from Florida in Turin, and we discuss a lot. And also they are seeing that much can be done, of course, also in the United States is an open issue.
Well, thank you for sharing your experience. And again, thinking about global perspective, we all have a lot to learn from what is happening, whether it's in Italy or anywhere. So certainly, thank you for sharing that. I think you should adopt that for the soccer team, the football team for Italy, because they're not, I don't know what happened with Italy lately, but so whatever we're doing with pharmacists in Italy, we should do it with the soccer team.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nasser. This is Ada from the College of Pharmacy in Qatar University. Thank you very much for this really interesting presentation. I really like the fact when you talked about how the university is adopting a model of the medication review clinics. And I think this is something that we really need to be thinking about. We really need to, I think our curriculums really need to change. We need to move from being product focused to being patient centered. So I think there is a lot of things that we can do in terms of the curriculum. And one of the things is our students. Yes, the practice is not perfect, but one of the things that we teach our students that you are going to be leaders. You are going to be the agent for change. So yes, we're teaching them a lot of things. However, when they move out to the practice, I'm sure, with the things that we instill in them, they'll be able to change practice quite effectively. One of the things that I practice in Scotland, and one of the things that in the past, what they used to do in terms of reimbursement, it was based on how many prescriptions was dispensed. However, recently, now reimbursement is being focused on the professional service. So, how much medication review clinics you're doing, on clinics and things. And I think, these are things that we really need to be thinking about. My question to you, it might be a really big question. In terms of the Middle East or in Jordan, what do you see as the main barrier in trying to incorporate something like this? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to put my science hat on. I'm a pharmacist. I practice for 22 years now. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a better pharmacist because I'm also a scientist. And the key thing with being a scientist is you analyze. We talk about critical thinking, okay? In our curriculum, with all due respect to the clinical sciences, the science courses, pharmaceutical sciences, are the ones that really challenge the students. I was blown away with the presentation about NMR, I'll be honest with you, all right? Maybe I understood 10% of what you presented, all right? But I tried hard to understand. That's what science does. It makes it like, wow, this is new, I don't have a clue what he's talking about, but it makes you think, how can I understand, how can I put my head around all this, And with all due respect, the clinical sciences, yeah, it helps you with critical thinking, but the pharmaceutical sciences are so critical. So if we want to graduate good pharmacy practitioners, whether they go in the industry or anywhere, they have to have a good foundational knowledge in science, original discovery, and I appreciate that. If they don't appreciate that and all what they care about is, give me a patient and I want to do this, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. My own biased opinion. So I think, how can we do it? I think there is great things in the curriculum here, and especially the emphasis on pharmaceutical sciences. And I hope it doesn't go away, but at the same time, I think we as pharmaceutical science faculty, we need to also show the students the relevance. He ended up showing what it means in terms of treatment of cancer and so on. So all that jargon, with all due respect, might be above my level or anybody's level, but ultimately, how does that impact the patient? I think that's critical, that's important. So the more more pharmaceutical scientists start showing the students, yes, the importance of original discovery, critical thinking, analyzing, predicting, and synthesizing, and all that stuff, but at the same time, to really, how do you apply it to the clinical practice? So it goes hand in hand, and I think we'll graduate a better student with more responsibility and the ability to function in different ways. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, just one more question, the last question.
I want first to thank you for this presentation because it hits a lot of what we need here in Jordan. But to be fair, I want to show you that we have certain experience in Jordan University of Science and Technology. We started the first PharmD program in Jordan, and our outstanding students graduated and started to search for work. We found that we don't have a job description, so we collaborate with the Ministry of Health and we implement for them a job description. We forced some hospitals to take them as a PharmD, as practitioners, as clinical preceptors. We started with the university hospital, King Abdullah Hospital, which is our students are observed by our faculty members or our graduates. And initially, what happened that the physicians refused their existence at the hospital. I remember the first day when they said to them, what you are doing here? And we showed them how they are, right now they are drug experts, and we followed our graduates. And I remember the same person who was the principal of the hospital, who was refusing their existence. After a few years, after 3 years, he went there and he didn't find the clinical pharmacist. They contributed a lot in drug-drug interaction and adjustment of the dose, and they contributed.
I'm going to stop you.
Yes.
Did you document any of this?
No.
I mean, you're presenting, with all due respect to you. You see, we're hearing this now. You've done all of this great work.
Yes.
How do they know about this?
Yeah.
that's the whole point of this. I mean, it's fantastic. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it frustrates me that you say all these things and you have to wait for a forum like this. You should be proud of what you've done. You know, you're talking about academia working with the Ministry of Health,
Yes.
with hospitals. So that's a model for everybody. All the others can say, hey, this was done at Just, why don't we do this?
Yes.
So I apologize, I didn't mean to kind of be, you
No,
know,
I wanted to reach your point. I do remember that I heard one of the presentation about clinical pharmacy for a few years here, and we were also, I thought that the first item they said that we have to suffer initially, and this was
Sure.
the journey in the United States, so we accept the suffer at the first. And about this doctor who went to the hospital one day and he didn't find the clinical pharmacist. He said, where is the clinical pharmacist? I cannot work without. And we called the clinical pharmacist to go there. And then we talked to him. If you are convinced that she's doing great, then we have to, instead of having one in the hospital, we have to have one in each department. And right now we are going in the right track there. And even he's now the president of the university and he's supporting us in the PharmD program, and we are doing a lot. I think we missed the documentation, not on the large scale. We documented this for the country, but we missed the documentation for individual cases. We have to document for individual cases what I saw that you did there, that what was the implementation of the pharmacist, the role of the pharmacist for each patient as a number to convince all physicians in the country about the importance of having a clinical pharmacist representative. Thank you.
thank you.
Just one short comment. She insists.
Very much.
Okay.
I want just to comment that in 2005, because I was in the Ministry of Health, I was advisor to the Minister for Drug Affairs, and I was the head of the committee that we assembled for the issuing of the job description of clinical pharmacists. And the job description was issued, and the minister signed it since 2005. So it should have reached everybody, whether it's in the government or in the...
It was in collaboration with us because we were asked through the association, pharmaceutical association, that we needed.
If I may,
The
just
pharmaceutical
for the sake of
association is not the place to issue job description. The Ministry of Health, we issued the job description and it was signed, so...
just for the sake of time, I will let you know that most pharmacists now in the United States, because in the job description says pharmacists can do pharmaceutical care. So they took that just one sentence and started working with that to see what they can do without being legally in trouble. So I don't know what your job description is, so you could look at it and find something in there that allows you to do many things and negotiate, I guess.
Thank you. I know actually it's an interesting and interactive subject, so please let it be as a direct discussion with Professor Nasser during the break for any more questions. Thank you again, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Our speaker now is Professor Marwan Musa, the Professor of Material Technology at Mu'tah University, Jordan. Professor Marwan was titled as Humble Science Ambassador, and he is the president of Jordanian Club of Humble Fellows. He is also the president of the Jordanian Physics Society. Professor Marwan was elected as a member of the Institute of Physics in the United Kingdom. He was awarded Fulbright Scholarship twice, in addition to many other well-recognized awards throughout the world. He's also the director of the International Conferences on Materials in Jordan. He has more than 70 publications in refereed international journals.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I would like to thank Zaytuni University for giving us the opportunity to present to you one of the most prestigious scholarships in the world, mainly for postdoctorate scholarships, and this scholarship is for life. When you get it once, you get it for life. But before I start, I would like to thank the President of Zaytuni for supporting scientific research.
Sorry to interrupt. Just please.
Dr. Ali Karim, the Dean for Scientific Research, and Professor Ghassan Abu Sheikha for chairing such highly interesting conference. Before I start, I'd like to call Dr. Abu Sheikha here and decorate him with the pin of the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. I will talk about the Humboldt Foundation, its scholarships, and then at the end, the last 5 minutes, I will talk about the Humboldt, the Jordanian Club of Humboldt Fellows, which is the club which have 37 members in Jordan who got this scholarship. They are all leaders in the society in Jordan and in the region. I would start with saying that there are several European scholarships. One of them is the Erasmus Mundus. Partially it is also having effect in Germany. I will not talk about this because it would also take a session, but I met in Germany several Jordanians who has been doing continuous research on this scholarship. It's a European scholarship. Germany is the largest single friendly country in number of fellowships to Jordan. There are hundreds of fellowships every year for Jordanians. The features of these scholarships are no discrimination in nationality, race or color. Also, there's a follow-up mechanism. When you get it once, you are a Humboldtian for life, and not just in Germany, but all around the world. And it's a lifetime duration. German fellowships, they are a day, I will not talk about it, but they have an office in Jordan. And for the students who are looking for a PhD, the DAD is the German organization that offers these scholarships. 31st of August every year is the deadline for submitting applications. You only need an invitation and a project from Germany. They have an office behind the University of Jordan. And if you have any questions also, we can help because we are partners with the DAAD. So there is the DFG and the Max Planck. The Max Planck is an independent institution. You will see how many institutions they have in Germany, but also the Humboldt support Max Planck fellowships. This morning we got a new announcement for this Max Planck fellowship offered by Humboldt, very special. I will talk about, and there is the industry. Then there is the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. The Alexander von Humboldt Foundation connecting academic excellence worldwide and knowledge transfer and exchange, cooperation at the highest level. Historical roots: Alexander von Humboldt, who died 1859, was a discoverer, universal scholar, cosmopolitan and patron of excellent scientific talent. Since 1953, it was the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation was established. Well, it was before the war, but it was ended, closed by the Nazis, and then it was re-established in 1953, and now it is considered as one of the most prestigious and effective foundations for academic exchange in the world. I got Fulbright. I was so lucky to get it twice, and it's a very prestigious fellowship, but Humboldt is really different, and I will introduce it to you. The Humboldt Foundation's areas of work is for exchange, cultural, scientific exchange, and hoping for development, mutual development. Principles of the foundation. Sole selection criterion is the academic excellence. Even if you have 100 papers, somebody who have 10 papers or 8 papers can get the fellowship. But if you have 100 and you apply, you might not get it. They need quality. No quotas for countries or disciplines. So you compete freely with the Russians, with the Americans, with the Europeans. Sponsorship of people, not projects. So they sponsor the person and they sponsor him for life. Free choice of academic host. You can choose a German to host you in a university, in a college, in a factory, anywhere, or research institution, anywhere. It's independent research. It's not stipulated by the foundation. It's 6 months to 2 years. If you do the first year in Germany and you want to continue in the United States, another Humboldtian invite you to, they will support you for the second year in the United States or in another country like Japan or anywhere, or in Jordan. Equal opportunities for female academics. Actually, this is not true because there are extra points for females who are applying for the fellowship. There is real extra consideration to encourage females. Humboldt Foundation's funding. The budget for the last year, 2014, was approximately 110.5 million euros, financed by federal funds and the European Union, about in the value of 97%. The last 3% are some income for the foundation. You can see the BMBF, it's the Federal Ministry of Education and Research. It's about 57.6%. The Secretary General of the Foundation, the Secretary General of the Ministry was in Jordan in our last conference, not in the last conference, in the one before, Dr. Jörg Schutter. He was the Secretary General of Humboldt. And when you become Secretary General of Humboldt or President of Humboldt, you are at the highest level you can ever reach in science or administration. So he's now the Secretary General of the Ministry of Higher Education. He's situated in Berlin, and we have very strong collaboration with him, and he supports Jordan. He had Petra picture when he was in Petra in his office. The other larger supporter is the AA, which is the Federal Foreign Office. The Federal Foreign Office gives about 37% of the finances for the whole educational organizations in Germany. We have a very good relationship with the AA, and their deputy foreign minister was in our last conference. I might have the time to talk 1 or 2 minutes about the last conference, which was held last year. We have 10 universities and institutions in Jordan participating. We had 100 international scientists attending, including 43 from Germany. The rest are from 28 countries. And the Deputy Foreign Minister attended the conference, and he was very delighted also to have the chance to visit Jordan for another 5 days, where he said it was the longest trip ever abroad. Now he is in charge of the European diplomacy. He is the ambassador in France, and we keep good relationship with the Foreign Office because they give the finances. Research locations in Germany. These are the research locations in Germany: universities, Leibniz Institutes, Max Planck Institutes, Helmholtz Centers, Fraunhofer Institutes. You can see they are distributed all over Germany. In numbers, there are 100 universities, research in all disciplines, 83 Max Planck Institutes, 67 Fraunhofer Institutes, 18 Helmholtz Centers. I do my research in one of those in Berlin. It's called Berlin Helmholtz Zentrum for Energy and Materials. 89 Leibniz Institutes. Sponsorship opportunities. The Humboldt Foundation give about 700 fellowships per year. Key sponsorship programs at a glance. there will be some copies of this book if you are interested, with the abstracts of the conference, including some of the most famous pharmacists in the world. Professor Hartman is one of them. He is one of the leaders in the industry of pharmacy who was attending the conference. And the booklet about these scholarships, also there are copies outside. If you are interested, you can take one. Now, postdoctoral researchers, priority are for those who get the PhD up to 4 years. After 4 years of getting PhD, you get extra points if you apply, because then you prove that you are a good researcher, you have enough papers. The next, and this is a new, really new, this is this year, it's up to 6 years after completion of doctorate, and the experienced researchers up to 12 years after completion of PhD. There are the awards. The awards of the Humboldt is up to 18 years after PhD. But this is highly distinguished, and I can present an example. If you take the last one, Alexander von Humboldt Professorship, this is the booklet of the professorship. I can read for you. Academics working in experimental disciplines will receive a total of 5 million euros over a period of 5 years. Those working in theoretical disciplines are eligible for 3.5 million euros. The award amount may be used to cover all necessary research-related expenses during the funding period. Up to 180,000 euros per year may be drawn from the prize money for the award winner personal income. You can get 180,000 euros per year for you if you get the scholarship. Other income, especially additional salary, negotiated with the recipient institution. Your institution, if you are a German and you host a Jordanian, you apply for him and you get the professorship, then the institution is eligible for 15% of the award funds, which may be used as part to generate additional incentives for the nominee, etc. So you can see it's a very rich fellowship. This morning, I printed this International Climate Protection Fellowships. This fellowship is the only one that Humboldt generated for people who have BSc or MSc. This fellowship allows future leaders to spend a year in Germany working on a research-based project of their own choice in the field of climate protection or climate-related resource conservation. If you can connect the pharmacy to the improvement of air or climate, then you are eligible to apply. Application can be made in the fields of scientific, engineering-based, legal, economic, health-related, or social aspects of climate change. There are 3 weeks introductory phase where you will have opportunity to make contact with climate protection fellows, visit research institutions, cultural events in Germany. Incentive German course for 3 months can be obtained, and continuing education lasting several years in the course of fellowship will enable you to acquire not only practical knowledge of climate protection, but also expertise in management. Deadline is March 1st, 2016. So this is just to give you an idea. If you got a PhD and you want to do postdoctorate, you have the choice to go to the Gulf countries and make some dinars there, or you can apply to go to Germany. It's highly paying. It also, now we will see, it is from 6 months to 24 months. And it includes travel funds, insurance, family allowance, children allowance, starting allowance to help you to start, and 1 year after you return home with not large payment, but about 1,000 euros to help you settling back home. About 26,000 people got these awards. around the world. The Humboldt Research Fellowship, it's all disciplines, no quotas. George Foster Research Fellowship. This research fellowship was generated upon our request because it mainly talks about applied technology, applied science, applied arts, and it is faster to obtain. And the last two Jordanians obtained the scholarship this year were Professor Saad Dababne from Al-Balqa University, physicist, and the second one, he was the first pharmacist to get Dr. Muhammad Khamfar from the pharmacy faculty of the University of Jordan, and this now enables the faculty of pharmacy of University of Jordan to make mutual agreements with research institutions that have Humboldtians there, and each agreement enables the department or the faculty to get 55,000 from each institution to do a research project, and it is automatic. Humboldt Research Fellowships. George Foster Research Fellowship, 6 to 24 months. This is to help so that it can be divided into 3 periods, each of 6 months. It starts for the beginner 2,650 euros, and the highest is 3,150 euros per month. Fyodor Lenin Research Fellowship. When you do your research in Germany, you like a young guy who works with you, he got his PhD, he can apply for Fyodor Lenin Fellowship from Humboldt, and he can come to Jordan and spend with you 6 months up to 2 years. I had one who came and spent 2 years at Mؤتمر University. He taught, he did research, and now 3 years after he returned home, he still supervised graduate students with me. Mؤtمر University didn't have to pay him not 1 dinar. It was all covered by the foundation. There was another person in archaeology, also spent 1 year at the German Jordanian University and 1 year at Yarmouk University. This is duration of the sponsorship, 6 to 24 months or 6 to 18 months. And every 3 years you can renew your stay. It's your right. What is needed is to have doctorate, publications. You don't have to know German, but you are offered 3 months dedicated German language at the countryside so you can learn the language. Applications directly, you don't need to say what time. You can apply today, tomorrow, 1 month, after 1 month, after. It's open. You just go on the website of the Humboldt Foundation, Alexander von Humboldt, and then you fill the form, and they will guide you what is needed. If there are any missing documents, they will tell you, please send the documents. Duration of procedure, 4 to 7 months. The committee, the specialized committees from all around